It's another book haul video, you know how it is. But in today's video, I'm going to divide the books that I bought into several categories so that it will be a lot easier for me to explain them. There will be the fun books, books by Cormac McCarthy, the classics, non-fiction books, and lastly, a children's book. With that out of the way, let's start with the first one. Okay, so the fun books are basically books that are probably not going to frustrate me. I probably will have a good time reading them. And today I have 4 of them. Mercy, which is the 4th and final novel in the Active Mind series by David Baldacci. And then I also have Titanic, which is the 3rd novel in the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson. And I also have 2 books by Marissa Mayer. I have Gilded and Renegades. Okay, so for the first 2 books, I can't really say much about them because they're not the first novels in their series, and just talking about the synopsis can spoil the books before them. But essentially, Spencer Nightshade learned something extraordinary about herself and another thing in the previous novel, and the novel also ended with a cliffhanger, so I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. As for Atlee Pine, she finally learned the truth about her sister and her family. And in this 4th and final novel, she's going to confront the truth. As for the other 2, the 2 books by Marissa Mayer, Gilded and Renegades, I bought this because I'm thinking about starting a series where I try to get to know my fellow booktubers or readers better by reading, well, their favorite books. I don't know if it's going to happen or not because, you know, I don't want to make a promise that I can keep. But it's just something that I want to try and see whether it works or not. So I decided to contact Sherry and ask for her favorite books. And she recommended me books by Marissa Mayer. So I decided to buy Gilded, which I guess is her latest novel, and Renegades, which is one of her more popular books. So yeah, let's see why Sherry really loves Marissa Mayer's books, and let's see what they can tell us about her. Okay, so you guys know that I'm a big fan of Cormac McCarthy, and I actually plan to read all of his books, well, at least all of his novels, before I read Blood Meridian, which is considered by many to be his magnum opus. I really want to read that book last. And today I finally have The Orchard Keeper, which is Cormac McCarthy's first ever novel, and then The Sunset Limited, which is a novel in a dramatic form. But this is not considered to be one of his novels. I mean, it's kind of a novel, but it's not also a novel in a usual way. This book is basically about 2 characters who have a conversation about the meaning of life. And lastly, I also have, wait a minute, The Border Trilogy, which is basically a 3-in-1 book, because this book includes the famous All the Pretty Horses, The Crossing, and finally Cities of the Plain. So I have finally collected all of Cormac McCarthy's novels, and I can finally read all of them before I read Blood Meridian. But honestly, I don't really know if I'm going to go through with that plan, because apparently Cormac McCarthy is finally back, and this time he's going to publish 2 novels. Let me say that again, 2 novels, The Passenger and Stella Maris. I'll put links in the description below in case you're interested to know more about these 2 novels. So the information about The Passenger actually had been around for like more than a decade, and at first I thought he was going to publish it posthumously, but apparently I was wrong, because here we are, he's going to publish these 2 novels. Oh, and by the way, just for a little bit of information, Stella Maris is supposed to be the coda, or like the epilogue to The Passenger. It's a 200-page-ish novel, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I'll probably read Blood Meridian first before I read those 2 books, because those 2 books could be his last books, you know, his last voice or message as an author to his readers. And I want to treat them that way. Do I really want them to be his last books? Honestly, of course, no. But at the end of the day, whatever happens, I'll still be grateful to just be able to know him and his works. As for the classics, I have Dalton Trumbaugh's Johnny Got His Gun, I also have Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, the Aeneid by Virgil, and lastly, the Iliad by Homer. So, I first knew Johnny got his gun from Mr. Gigi when he reviewed the movie adaptation of this novel. Some of the clips that he showed reminded me of Metallica's music video for one, and that alone kind of intrigued me. And when I found out that this novel was an anti-war novel, I decided to buy it. Not only because I really love All Quiet on the Western Front and was seeking another novel that conveyed a similar theme. I think novels like this is truly important, especially during this time, because politics will always exist. Nations will probably disagree with one another even for years to come. Unfortunately, human lives are not forever, and at the end of the day, it's the people and the soldiers who suffer the most. So, a novel like this always reminds us why we should stop all wars at all costs. As for Lolita, I decided to buy this because I was just curious. I mean, this is one of those books that is loved by a lot of people despite its controversial subject, and that alone kind of intrigued me. So I finally decided to read this book first before I watched the movie adaptation of this book by Stanley Kubrick. As for the last two books, I bought this too because of Dante's Divine Comedy. Apparently the Divine Comedy is an epic poem, so it's not like your usual poem because it also tells a story. And apparently I really loved it, and I decided to seek for other epic poems. And I finally decided to buy the Iliad by Homer. And I also bought the Aeneid by Virgil because of the same reason. In addition to that reason, I also bought the Aeneid because Dante Alighieri really admired Virgil. So much so to a point where he actually put Virgil in the Divine Comedy and made him as his, tour guide, the one who guided him through hell and purgatory. But when I read the Divine Comedy, I didn't really know why Dante Alighieri really admired Virgil. So hopefully by reading the Aeneid, I can finally understand why. And let's also see if there are any influences that the Aeneid has on Dante's Divine Comedy. And right now, before we talk about the last two categories, as always, please support this channel by subscribing and also turn that notification bell on. And also like and share this video, especially if you like it. Thank you. Okay, so for the nonfiction, I have 3 books, and the first 2 are books by Harold Bloom, The Western Canon, and How to Read and Why. So Harold Bloom was one of the most famous and greatest literary critics in America. Not only that, he was also a Sterling Professor of Humanities at Yale University and Burke Professor of English at New York University. And Bloom was also a MacArthur Prize Fellow, a former Charles Eliot Norton Professor at Harvard University, a member of the American Academy, and the recipient of many other honors and awards. So the guy clearly was an important figure in literature. But unfortunately, he passed away in 2019, so may he rest in peace. I first got to know his work from Cliff Surgeon of Better Than Food when he reviewed How to Read and Why. So in this book, Harold Bloom apparently explains why reading is important and why we should preserve this habit, especially in this day and age where electronic media and social media in general starts to take over. But he also emphasizes the fact that there are only some books that can be considered as source of wisdom. And in this book, he basically recommends what he thinks to be the best of the best, the ones that he considers to be the source of wisdom. And as for the Western canon, I guess this is also kind of similar because he recommends a lot more books, a lot more authors and poets, but here he also argues against the politicization of literature. So I bought these 2 books because I always feel like I want to read something that is more than what I usually read. How do I say it? So I'm okay with reading books that are just fun and entertaining in general, but honestly, I also want to read books that are somehow profound and also moving, but unfortunately, I don't really know where to begin. So hopefully, Mr. Bloom here can sort of guide me and also give me strong reasons why I should read the books that he recommends. I also bought his books because Harold Bloom, although he was admired and respected by a lot of people, he was also disliked by many, as well. Some people actually strongly disagree with his views and consider him to be an elitist. So that kind of made me curious and made me want to see what his views were and see myself whether I agree with his views or not. And as for the last nonfiction book, I have Dreyer's English by Benjamin Dreyer. So frankly, I really love learning English, but I always feel like that my English isn't good enough. There are so many things that I have yet to learn and I have yet to discover. And because of that, whenever I have the chance to buy a book about English, I usually, buy it. And I decided to go with this one because this one has gotten a lot of positive reviews. And most people say that this book is both insightful and fun. So yeah, hopefully Mr. Dreyer here has some useful tips and tricks and also insightful knowledge that can help me to become a better English learner. Okay, so for the children book, I have The Little Match Girl by Hans Christian Andersen, and this one is illustrated by Jeffrey Pinkney. So I bought this book because The Little Match Girl was like the only book that made me cry when I was a kid. And that picture, when she dies, it's one of those pictures that just stay with me. I mean, even my laptop's background is literally the picture of her dead. This is just one of those books that means so much to me and probably impacted me a lot when I was young. So I decided to buy another copy of this because I lost the one that I used to have. But right now I'm planning to actually buy the other versions because apparently there are also other illustrations that are as beautiful as this one. So maybe I'll be the collector of The Little Match Girl. And so yeah, those are basically the books that I bought in the last couple of months. Hopefully, I can read all of them this year. Hopefully. But yeah, how about you? Have you done any book haul yourself recently? Or maybe, are there any books that you guys think I should read? Share them in the comments below and let me know. I'll definitely check them out. So yeah, thank you for watching and staying. I hope that you guys will always have a great day. And with that, I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.